Good morning, students. Today we will learn about rates, ratio, and proportion. I have given you definition of ratio along with proportion, and I have given you definition of rate and unit rate also. Go ahead and copy all of these definitions in your binder. Once you have finished copying, then I will explain you all of these definitions. So the first definition is of ratio. A ratio is a comparison of two quantities by division. The ratio of A to B can be written as A ratio B. These two dotted lines, column we call it, this is called ratio B, or we can also write it as A over B, where B should not be equal to 0. Proportion. A statement that two ratios are equivalent, such as 1 over 12 is equal to 2 over 24 is called proportion. So how these two are equivalent? If you multiply this 1 by 2, it will give you 2 times 1, that's your 2. And so you have to multiply by the denominator by the same number 2. So 12 times 2 will be what? 24. So you see both of them will be same. Third definition is of rate. A rate is a ratio of two quantities with different units. So say 34 miles over 2 gallons. These two are different units. Next is unit rate. A unit rate is a rate with a second quantity of 1 unit, such as 17 miles over 1 gallon. Always remember the second quantity will be only 1. This number, this value can change, but this will be only 1. So it is called 17 miles per gallon. Our question number 1 says, state each pair of ratios form a proportion. Always remember, whenever I am talking about copy the question, it means I want you to copy the part which is in words. So you have to copy that part. Okay, now this question is saying we have to find out whether these ratios do they form a proportion. So what happens in this case is you will multiply these two ratios. So when I multiply these two ratios, it will look like this to you, 4 times 6, and we will put the equal sign over here, 20 times 2. So what is 4 times 6? It is your 24, and 20 times 2 is what? It's your 40. Now, if you will see these two numbers are different, so we can say these two numbers does not form a proportion, or these two ratios does not form a proportion. Okay, now we will try this question over here. So what I will do is I will cross multiply these. So when I do this, I will be left over with 6 times 4, and I'll write an equal sign over here, 3 times 8. So if I multiply 6 with 4, it will give me 6 times 4 is what? 24. And 3 times 8 is what? 24. Do both the sides look same to you? Yes. So this is what? This is a what? Proportions. I'll write over here. It is a proportion. So I have given you two examples on how to find whether two ratios are proportion or not. Now I am going to another type of question. So in your notebook you will mark this as question number 2. So what is this, people? This is your question number 2. Question number 2 says what? Solve each proportion. Our steps are still same now, but so this says 10 over k is equal to 8 over 4. This k is an unknown quantity, so we have to find the value of k. Step number 1, whenever you see equal sign, you will cross multiply. So it will look like this to you, 4 times 10 is equal to k times 8. So 4 times 10 is giving me 40, and this part is giving me 8k. Now if there is no sign, it means what? It is a multiplication sign. So ask question from yourself. What is the opposite of times? Opposite of times is what, people? It is divide. So I will divide this by what? 8. Both the sides. When I divide this by 8, 40 divided by 8, what I want you all to do is use your calculator. I have told you multiple times, buy a calculator like this and try to do. This is 40 and divided by what? 8. So 40 divided by 8 is what? 5. So what I will write over here? I will write over here 5. is equal to k, or k is equal to 5. Okay, now let's look at another problem. This says m over 10 is equal to 10 over 3. So for step number 1, I will cross multiply. So when I cross multiply, this is yours 3 times m is equal to 10 times 10. So 3 times m will give me 3m, but 10 times 10 will give me 100. My next step, I will be dividing by 3, because it is 3 times m. Opposite of division, opposite of multiplication is what? Division. So I will divide both the sides by this number 3. This will give me m is equal to 100 over 3. You can again use your calculator for this. As I've been repeatedly telling you, you have to buy your calculator. This is a calculator which you should look for if you are going to Walmart or Kroger or anywhere. This is 100 divided by 3, which gives you what? It gives you, and when it gives you answer in fraction, you should press this button, S to D. It gives you 33.3. So I'll write my answer. M is what? M is 33.3. That's my answer. Okay, let's do one more question over here. This is one more example. It says what? 8n divided by n is equal to what? 8 over 3. Okay, so what I will do is over here is I will cross multiply, the same step I've been doing. Now this is a different problem because there is one more 8 as a coefficient in front of n. So it looks like this to me. 8n times 3 is equal to 8 times 8. 8 times 3, you will multiply these two numbers. 8 times 3 is what? 24. It will be 24 times n is equal to 8 times 8 is what? 64. Now we will ask this question to read this. It says 24 times n. What is the opposite of times? Division. So what you do, you divide by what? 24. So this will be cancelled out, and n will be what? 64 divided by 24. Now I will again pull out my calculator over here. Alright, so I will erase this and I will use a fraction button. So this is your 64 divided by 24, and it gives me the answer 8 over 3. I can write 8 over 3, or I can write my answer in this form also. Okay, when you press this button, it gives you the answer 2.667 or 8 over 3. So we'll write 2.66. So n is equal to what? 2.66. That's your answer for this question over here. Okay, now we will do one more problem. 7 over 9 is equal to 8 a over 5. So what I will do, I will cross multiply, same step. So look at the arrow over here, so I have to multiply 5 is 7. So 5 times 7 is equal to a times 9. 5 times 7 is my 35, and it will give me 9 times a. So what happens after this is I have to do the inverse process of multiplication. So what I will do, I will divide by 9 both the sides. So this will be cancelled out. 9 divided by 9. So it is a is equal to 35 over 9. So I'll write over here. Okay, let's divide 35 by 9 first of all. I again pulled up my calculator over here. Clear. Okay, see, I'm using this fraction button. Please go ahead and buy a calculator. It becomes a lot more easier for you if you're using calculator. So it is 35 over 9, but when I press this button, it gives me 3.888. Look here, if I click it one more time, it gives me this number, 3.88. So my answer is what? My answer is 3.88 is equal to A. But I have to write in the standard form, so it will be yours. A is equal to 3.88. Okay, this is one more problem. Okay, so what I will do is what? I will cross multiply. It will give me 2 times v is equal to 10 times 12. So 2 times v is my 2v, and 10 times 12 is what? 120. Now this says 2 times v, so opposite of times it was division sign. We learned this when we were learning about solving equations. So this will be cancelled out and v will be equal to what? 120 divided by 2. So I will again pull up my calculator. Some of you might be finding it very easy because you have already learned this earlier. So in my calculator I pulled up my fraction button over here and I will bring it down over here. This is my 2 and press enter. What's my answer? 60. So my value of v is what? V is 60. Okay, let's do one more problem. So this is the last problem over here. Just to get a better idea of how to solve proportions. You will cross multiply again over here. This is your 6n is equal to 14 times 5. So this is your 6n is equal to 14 times 5. It will give you 70. Now after that, what you do is you divide by 6, as I was doing in other problems. Divide by 6. So this will be cancelled out and n is equal to what? 70 divided by 6. So I will again use my fraction button over here, 70, and I will write 6 in the denominator, and that's my answer. 35 over 3. I can write 35 over 3, or I can write it like this also, 11.666. So I'll write let's write both the answer. 35 over 3 and 11.66. So 35 over 3, this is my answer. And if am writing in decimals, I can write it like this also, 11.666. There you go. So I got two answers over here.